Bully boy Prince Harry is using his usual tactics to try and force the king into a meeting in London next month. I want the monarch to hold strong, to hold firm, especially after this despicable leak to the Daily Mirror.
So here we are again. Another month. Another headline about Harry flying back to London. Another exclusive leak about some supposed peace talks with King Charles. Only this time, the story is being spun as if reconciliation is within touching distance. If you believe the Daily Mirror, Harry and Charles are on the verge of a heart-to-heart. But let's not kid ourselves. This isn't about olive branches.
In the UK today, Prince Harry set to meet King Charles on UK return, but William rejects reunion. They trumpet their exclusive, saying relations between the Duke of Sussex and the King have begun to ease, following an informal peace summit with Buckingham Palace officials as Harry is due to fly back into London. Then, crucially, the reporting comes from its US editor, Chris Buckton. Yes, the bloke that's based in Los Angeles. I wonder why. He writes, the two have not seen one another since January last year, a period in which His Majesty has been undergoing treatment for cancer. A US source told the Mirror. In other words, this has come directly from Montecito. It's clear there is now a determination on both sides to make this happen. Nobody is pretending the wider family issues have been resolved, but this is about beginning with Charles and Harry. For the first time in a long time, there's a genuine sense that reconciliation is within reach. Prince Harry's team and the palace have opened a line of communication, and there is every hope that father and son will see one another when the Duke returns to London in September. They continued after 20 months apart, and with the King continuing his treatment, the feeling is that the time is right to take that step. This is not about grand gestures or set-piece meetings. It's about a simple face-to-face conversation between a father and his son. Then this line, I can't even read it out, I will, but it's so bloody ridiculous. The priority is privacy and dignity, but also ensuring the door stays open for future dialogue. As for Harry and William, though, any chance of reconciliation between them has been rejected out of hand. Straight to royal YouTube sensation, according to Taz. Tash, if Prince Harry had any sense that King Charles's privacy mattered, that King Charles's dignity mattered, there would not have been this leak to the Daily Mirror. I feel like Harry is trying to bully King Charles into a meeting now. I really want the palace to hold firm, but I am concerned. If you're enjoying what we're doing here on Outspoken, please consider joining our thriving community over on Substack, www.outspoken.live. You can sign up completely for free, but Substack is so important to me. It is a free speech platform. It protects me from big tech cancellation. Plus, you get to communicate directly with me. Head on over www.outspoken.live, enter your email address and sign up today.
It's a bit of an own goal, really, because I believe, much like yourself, that Harry is doing this for selfish reasons. I don't think it's got anything to do with him wanting to truly make amends with his father. He needs content. He needs that royal association. They both do. Their relevancy is in decline every single day. And I believe that this leak, there's a bit of me that's unsure whether it's Harry doing it or whether it could be someone obviously in Montecito that is actually doing it, because perhaps they don't want the meeting to happen. A bit of a
It's about optics, the way the Mirror framed it. Quoting their US editor rather than the royal editor already screams where this came from. Not from Buckingham Palace, but from California. Montecito fingerprints all over it. The source even says there's a determination on both sides to make this happen. Convenient, isn't it? Just in time for Harry's London trip. Just when he needs some headlines that make him look less isolated.
As I said, it would be an own goal if Harry was leaking it, because surely this will make his father make sure that the drawbridge stays firmly up. If he gets leaks now and the courtiers get leaks that Harry is now already selling stories to the newspapers and running to them, then they're not they've not got any hope of having any sort of privacy, or anything that can be discussed will remain private. So it's hard to understand, if Harry does genuinely want to meet with his father, why on earth is this leak happening?
Because Tash, it just hasn't come from anyone connected to the royals. I mean, it's coming out of the US.
Yeah.
I mean, it's to their, because again, I know the nuts and bolts in terms of how these newspapers work. This leak is not to its royal editor, Russell Myers, but rather to its US editor, Christopher Buckton.
Yeah. It's definitely coming from their camp.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm in two minds whether Harry is aware of it. Does he genuinely want to meet with his father and someone's trying to sabotage that, a bit like that meeting that was revealed with Meredith Maines? Or are they in on it? Are they hoping that the king does shut down this meeting and Harry can play victim again, saying, "Oh, my father refuses to meet me. I've tried. I've given them olive branches." It's this constant victim narrative that Harry and Meghan try to peddle and push. But you're right, the king, this needs to be a precursor of what exactly is going to happen. It's obvious what's going to happen. If he does meet him, it will be leaked.
The irony for me is that I believe Harry is now doing exactly what he used to accuse the royal family of doing, which is that he knows the way to set the mainstream agenda and to get to the heir of the king is to use the British MSM, the British tabloid newspapers. So what he's trying to do, because remember, Charles still will not pick up his phone calls, Tash. Charles will not communicate with him directly in writing either. So what Harry, I believe, is trying to do here is say, Papa, these are the terms that I'm prepared to meet. This isn't a big grand gesture. This is just a father and a son meeting up. But the irony of using the press to leak that, I think, blows to smithereens his argument. And remember as well, Charles has to consider William's feelings in this because, Tash, again, we know Kensington Palace and William's side are saying nothing about Harry officially, right? So again, this rejection of a meeting, this idea of trying to present Harry as the sort of hapless victim who's desperately trying to meet up with his brother and being rejected by the Prince of Wales, that again can only be coming from his side. It's totally disingenuous because, again, what is never mentioned in any of these source quotes, Tash, is the reason that William has made this lifelong decision to cut off his younger brother and to keep him in exile in California. Not a word of that.
No, I mean, it's always going to be Prince William is still the villain. But I also think with Harry, with recent stunts that he's done, I mean, it shows that he has no intention of stopping, I would say, targeting certain people in the family, including Queen Camilla. Let's not forget that when the King and Queen were going on that trip to Rome, which just happened to coincide with their wedding anniversary, 20 years, I think it was. And then, of course, Harry went to China. And that got leaked, didn't it? Literally the timing of it again. And then you had Queen Camilla's birthday, when, of course, that was again timed 365 days in the year. And Harry decides to go over for the photo shoot, walking in his mother's footsteps, of course. And we saw Harry retracing Diana's steps on Queen Camilla's birthday. Harry is still very bitter and vengeful towards Camilla, and he's still very bitter and vengeful towards his brother. And he is going to continue painting himself to be a victim in all of this. And we know that there are certain mainstream media outlets, more than others, that are hell-bent on trying to paint Prince William a villain, as we've previously discussed. And Prince William is not a villain here. There is only one villain in that family, and he's currently in Montecito.
Yeah, and I think, Tash, as well.
So what happens if Charles does meet Harry? Honestly, nothing good. Either the meeting leaks in detail, making Charles look weak and manipulated, or Harry spins it into another chapter of his victim story. If Charles refuses, the narrative becomes Cruel King. If he agrees, it's poor Harry wasn't taken seriously.
This whole talk that, oh, Harry needs access to the royal diaries so he doesn't keep on planning these stunts. It's just complete bullshit yet again. I mean, he knows it was Camilla's birthday. He knows the date of Camilla's birthday. He still went ahead with the stunt. So he's playing games. He is playing games. It's really divided in terms of whether Charles will go through with this meeting. Tom Sykes, who I had on yesterday, European editor-at-large of the Daily Beast, but also behind the Royalist Substack, he says he doesn't think Charles will meet with Harry. But clearly, this is the Mirror coming out and saying, we're going to make this public. We're going to draw this line in the sand, because if Charles doesn't do this now, he looks like the bad guy. Harry is just so concerned about how he is presented in the mainstream media. He is obsessed with it. He always has been obsessed with it. And remember, Tash, a lot of this is just about how he feels his PR is being driven into the ground and his approval ratings are being driven into the ground. Because if he were to arrive in London, be pictured at the Wild Child Awards, which we know is happening, obviously without Meghan, Archie or Lily, if he were to do that, and there was no public posturing about a potential meeting with his father, that would make him look bad. So again, I think this is all about him. It's trying to protect his reputation. It's trying to turn him into the victim. It didn't work last year. I don't think it will work this year. Personally, I just really hope the king holds firm. I hope he does take into consideration William's feelings. I hope he does take into consideration Camilla's feelings. Remember the last time that they met, it was done at Clarence House. It was incredibly brief because Camilla, even though there's some conjecture about whether she was actually in the room or not, she was absolutely there overseeing it and making sure that she could whisk her husband straight off afterwards and sort of calm him down. Because remember as well, Tash, there's no guarantee that this is going to be a calm meeting, given that Harry continues to have his number of grievances, including the ongoing legal cases, which put Charles in just a terrible and precarious position.
Yes, I mean, I remember as well after that meeting in Clarence House, Harry appeared being interviewed the following day, didn't he, by Will Reeve, when it was meant to be about the Invictus Games. And Harry was talking about his father's battle with cancer. And it was clearly obvious that Camilla and the king didn't give him any information, because I'm pretty certain it would have come out in that interview that was advertised as an update to the king's health. Harry clearly cannot be trusted, and I think his motives are definitely selfish. I believe that he is desperate to get near his father, but I don't believe for a second it's anything to do with him worrying about his father's health, or it's to do with him finally saying, I'm so sorry for what I did to, my grandma, for granddad. I'm so sorry for the accusations that I did. I'm aware of the damage. He still to this day shows no signs of being apologetic for anything he's done, including allowing Omid Scobie to call the king a royal racist. Harry still hasn't called that out and said that's not true. And that is something that's got to stick very hard, I'm sure, in the king's side. I mean, this is his son that could have stopped this by shutting it all down. It's his son that started all of this in the first place. So I think Charles, if it is true and he is going to meet with him, I think it's a mistake. And I think he's going to find out very, very quickly, if he does meet up with him, that what we're predicting will be correct. I'm pretty certain that every tiny detail of anything that's discussed will come out. And then, of course, Harry's painting him into a corner, because if the king now refuses to meet with him, it's going to be, oh, poor Harry, oh, evil King Charles, evil Prince William. Everybody's bored of this narrative.
He can't win. And that's exactly the trap Harry is trying to set. It's why people are urging Charles to hold firm, for the sake of the monarchy, for the sake of his own dignity, and for the sake of William, who's made it clear he wants no part in this circus. The monarchy has survived crises before. It doesn't need Harry's drama. If Edward VIII and Wallis Simpson weren't welcomed back after their abdication, why should Harry and Meghan get a free pass after everything they've done?
Tash, do you obviously well, as you allude to, obviously there is a motivation by the mainstream media to keep this going too. They want a new storyline. They want the reconciliation. The Daily Telegraph has basically admitted that. The Daily Mail is having all-out war, as we've previously discussed with William and Catherine, and the Daily Mirror now leading the charge for Harry as well. So I think it's really unfortunate that the mainstream media just want a story. This isn't about a story. It's about what's right. It's about what's right for the monarchy. And no one was suggesting that the Duke of Windsor and Wallace Simpson should be brought back into the fold after a couple of years. Sometimes there are consequences for your actions. And the consequence, Harry, is that you're in exile. I think we've also got to think about, Tash, the commercial reasons behind this too, from Harry's perspective. I mean, my God, we knew With Love, Meghan Series 2 was going to be bad. It was bad. I think, how much did you get through, Tash? 4 episodes?
I got into 12 minutes in the 4th episode, and then I couldn't
What was
take
the final
anymore.
straw?
I just couldn't. What was the final straw?
Yeah.
Oh, it was just when she started talking about traditions being passed down in the family to the Persian chef. And I just thought, how can she say that when she's taken, that's it, Nasat, isn't it? They've taken their children away from everything. And I mean, you cannot get more traditions with the royal family. I mean, obviously you've still got Thomas Markle, I'm sure, who would dearly love to meet his grandchildren before,
Desperately.
time comes. But yes, I mean, for her to be stood there with a straight face, talking about hosting for friends and family and showing that you care. And then that bit when she was on about it's so important to pass traditions down. And I'm thinking of everything she stripped away from those 2 children. And I just couldn't take it anymore, Dan. Had
No,
to
that
throw
was the
towel
final
in.
straw. I fully understand. But most people, Tash, haven't even gone in at all.
No.
I mean, the
I hate
new
watching.
numbers are terrible. Look at this from Royally Sage, who says, our blackout on Rachel's show is working. The engagement factor is slipping. My God, it is. Number 85, Tash. I mean, it hasn't made it into the top 10 of
Nope.
any of the YouTube major markets. And the Royal News Network pointed out after The Hollywood Reporter wrote season 1 of the Duchess of Sussex's Netflix series With Love, Meghan should have served as a taste test. Instead, the host and executive producer's lack of substitutions make for an equally bland second season. Wrote, honestly, after the criticism of the first season, Meghan should have scrapped what they had and refilmed everything. The absolute collapse of the show on its second outing proves the first was a fluke, and Netflix knew that. It's why they didn't pay a dime to promote it. And interestingly, Tash, our friend Lady Colin Campbell has now waded through all 8 episodes too.
Actions have consequences. And in Harry's case, the consequence is exile. At this point, the Harry and Meghan story feels stuck on repeat. Every year, another leak about reconciliation. Every year, another flop project dressed up as groundbreaking. Every year, another round of victimhood narratives. But people are bored. The mainstream media might still hype it up for clicks, but audiences aren't buying it anymore. The Sussexes overplayed their hand. They thought the world would never stop caring. But the truth is, people do stop caring, especially when the drama becomes predictable. Harry can leak as many exclusive peace talks as he wants. Meghan can stage as many interviews and relatable moments as she likes. But without trust, without authenticity, without real success outside the royal bubble, it all falls flat. And that's the irony. For a couple who claim they wanted privacy, freedom, independence, their entire brand still depends on the very institution they trashed.